Okay, the last and third thing that I want you guys to make sure that you're keeping track of are your fingers. Make sure that they are away and out of the way of your knife, and this can come from personal experience. I was cutting down a print one time. I was not paying attention to where this index finger was. I cut the side off of it. I did not leave them enough skin for them to stitch it back together, so they had to chemically cauterize it, and I almost bit a nurse. So do not... Almost bit a nurse? Yeah, they had, because they couldn't get the bleeding to stop, so they were holding my hand like this, so her arm was in front of my face, and chemically cauterizing, that's basically just short of them getting a lighter, and like the chemicals was burning my skin closed. No, they didn't. So that's why I almost bit a nurse because I didn't get numbed up. So these can do a lot of damage if you're not paying attention and you're not being careful. So when we use these Exacto knives, we just need to go nice and slow. And if you're struggling, you need to stop immediately, ask me for help so I can help you through what you're struggling through, okay? Because we don't want to get to a point where you're struggling so much that you get frustrated and you hurt yourself, okay? All right, so the biggest thing with this is rotating your mat. So instead of really moving your hand and arm and stuff around, we're gonna be moving our mat around quite a bit. I'm right-handed, and so the most comfortable position for me to make cuts is where I position whatever I'm cutting down into the right. If you're left-handed, it'll be down into the left. So what I mean by that is on this first line right here, I'm going to turn my mat around to where this line is kind of going down to the right now, and I'm gonna hold my Exacto blade like a pencil, and I'm holding that angle side down to the paper, and I'm gonna make that cut like 2 or 3 times. So I'm not using a whole lot of pressure, so I just cut on top of that line 2 or 3 times, and now I've gone all the way through the paper. Okay, so we're gonna do these lines first. So we're gonna go down this column first, then we'll go through the middle column with those shapes, and then we'll hit the complex lines and shapes. Okay, so for the zigzag, what I'm gonna do is the lines, the set of lines that are going in the same direction, I'm gonna cut those first. So for example, like this. So I'll cut this one, and then this one, because they're all going the same direction. And then I'm gonna rotate out my mat, and then I'm gonna cut the other set of lines after I get them comfortable. So like right there, and now all of these are pointing down into the right, so I'm gonna make all those cuts. And then I'm gonna just gently lift up with my Exacto and make sure that all are cut through nice and even. If you are finding it difficult to use your Exacto knife like a pencil, holding it like a pencil, you can hold it like this instead. You open your palm, you set your Exacto knife in there, you're gonna close your 3 fingers around it, meet your thumb at your middle finger, and then your pointer finger goes on top. So you can use it this way if that's easier for you. If not, then just use it like a pencil, like teeth. Yep. All right, guys, so with the curves, those are a little harder. So I'm gonna rely on my mat moving for the most part instead of really rotating at my wrist or my elbow. So on this one, I am going to cut, and then I'll kind of pause every now and again, and I'll rotate my mat around. So I'll cut, pause, rotate, cut, pause, rotate. So I'm having to use my other hand and other fingers to hold that paper down. But I'm still making sure that I'm keeping my fingers away from the direction that I'm cutting with my knife.
I see why you want us to make it less cutting as possible.
Uh-huh.
It takes forever.
Yeah, it does.
It looks kind of funny.
Yeah, it will here at the beginning. Okay. All right, so we're just practicing here. Okay, now I'm gonna go down to this asymmetrical line, and I'm gonna do the same thing here, and I'm just gonna make small little cuts, and then once my hand starts getting like uncomfortable in the position that it's in, that's when you know it's time to rotate your mat, however, or in whatever direction you need.
These curves are hard.
Curves are hard. That's what I had talked about when you guys were designing these out. Straight lines are a lot easier.
Look, I'm doing squares. Luckily, I have all types of lines online. What do you do for me?
All right, guys. Now I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the shapes. Am I moving a little too fast?
Yes.
Okay, I got a yes, a no, and a sorta. Aiden, are you okay back there?
Oh, God.
Huh?
He's what are you laughing at?
Is he having trouble?
No, I'm at his mental state. I'm with him right now.
Dude, my knife keeps coming out.
What?
Timmy, I can fix that if it keeps happening. Just let me know.
Mine is sharp, doesn't it?
You're making me nervous. Like, you should not have this tool. I need you to be responsible because you should not be holding it like that anyway.
That's how I hold it.
It's not, no. George, do not hold it that way. There. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and cut out. Shh. Hey. When we cut out these shapes, you do not need to keep the shapes that you cut out, but you need to make sure that these are nice and clean because I am going to come and take points on this worksheet. So I'm going to position my mat to where I am cutting down and to the right. And then I'll reposition my mat and do those other two lines. At this point, if your hand is cramping or hurting, you are pushing way too hard. So you need to back off of your pressure and you just need to make multiple cuts. Okay.
What shape came out?
So guys, if this happens to your Exacto blade, where the blade itself actually comes out of the handle, you just loosen up where you're holding it like a pencil. That unscrews, and then you just tighten that back up by turning it clockwise or righty-tighty. Hey, quit.
I'm holding a sharp knife behind you. You better give my shape back before sinking in the butt.
Hey,
No,
you need to be doing that.
in his butt. I don't want this.
I wouldn't want it either.
Bob, who you hang on to that?
All right, guys, on the octagon, I'm going to do that kind of like the square. So I'm going to be cutting these out 2 lines at a time. So there and there.
I can't cut a straight line for this do my bicycle. Dude. I do good on the sides of the paper where I don't have to do anything.
You guys can do the octagon 2 lines at a time, or you can go 1 at a time. It doesn't really matter. Just as long as you get it cut out nice and clean and you're rotating the mat around to make sure that you're comfortable the whole time that you're cutting. Yeah. Ooh, yeah, I got a little rough there.
Whoa, it's the curves.
The curved ones are hard. Good job. Yes. You can do, yeah, whatever you want to do. That's fine. As long as you're still cutting on the mat and not on the table. Okay, with the circle, really the easiest way is all of your work is just coming and rotating the mat or rotating your paper. So you're just going to kind of position your hand. And I don't pick my Exacto knife up after I've started this one personally. So I'll make a little cut and then I'll rotate, make a small cut, rotate, make a small cut, rotate, so on and so forth. You can just move your paper. If you'd rather just move your paper instead of the whole mat, that doesn't matter to me.
have a big old thing on mine.
Go.
Hey.
This looks dumb.
Okay, and all of your shapes should be coming out nice and clean.
Yeah, that's what my circle was like.
My circle's the opposite from
Yeah, look at that circle. Clean cut.
this one's not.
Clean cut.
Okay, then on your asymmetrical shape, this one is where you're just gonna have to rotate your paper around as you need to keep your hand comfortable.
That's not even a shape.
Huh?
That's not even a shape.
It is, it's an organic shape,
No. That's like a germ.
which is an organic shape.
It looks like the one on my paper.
My dummy's pop.
All right, guys, so working at rotating my paper around the most on this one to keep my hand comfortable and still cutting down and to the right. Okay, now I'm gonna start working in this column. This first shape up here, we're just making kind of like a set of flaps or like doors.
Miss Hay.
What?
You gotta slow down. You moving speedy.
Is that kind of clean?
I'm still halfway through this journey.
Yeah, why are you still only on your square?
What do you mean?
I'm like all the way up here now.
Yeah, because I'm taking my time.
Taking your time.
Because if it's there, how do you cut it straight line? I don't understand.
You're not even cutting in straight
It
lines?
doesn't look like that. It looks like a lightning bolt.
It's pretty close to it though. I mean, guys, the lines are there for you.
Guys.
Okay, then I'm just gonna kind of open up.
Open up the safe.
Those are just kind of like little doors or whatever. That's the only one that will do that on.
Wait, how'd you do this?
I just cut on the lines. Just cut on the lines. And then you just fold them back. Timmy, stop it. I'm not kidding. Stop. And pull your mask up.
Dude, I'll just make fun of jokes.
Okay, on the sun or starburst, the easiest way to go about cutting this one out is if you do one side of each of the arms first and rotate your paper or your mat around as you're doing that, and then go back and doing the other side so you don't have to keep flipping back and forth every single time. So I'm gonna cut on the right-hand side of every arm first, and then just rotate my paper around as I'm cutting.
Not
Burn.
Excuse me.
Oh, yeah. I can get a lot done.
Open up the safe.
Guys at the same time.
Kano, I'm gonna take your phone.
This is important.
Excuse me?
Sorry, no, it was my mom.
Well, guys. It doesn't matter. Oh, no way.
All right, guys, so like I said, I'm going and making cuts on the right-hand side of the arms first and rotating my paper around, and then once I've completed that, I'll go and make cuts on the other side of the arm. So I'm just kind of making sure that I went all the way around, and I did. So now I'm gonna cut out the other side.
And people make this look good. My circle's kind of looking like an octagon.
It means you're not getting the curves right.
They're hard.
No, you're not trying, George.
No, at that point. My hand's cramping.
If your hand is cramping, then you're probably using a little too much pressure.
I need to drink more water.
Or pickle juice. Or mustard.
What the? I'm not drinking mustard for hand cramp.
Where are you getting mustard from?
I don't know. Who said mustard?
Why mustard?
I don't
Are you
know.
sure it's mustard?
Pickle juice.
Like pickle juice is because of the salt.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Whenever like our football players, like in football games, they have cramps. Coach Arnold or Coach Wilson will get a packet of mustard or a bottle of mustard, and they'll squirt it in your mouth, and then make it go.
I'd rather just take the cramp.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, maybe it's the vinegar. I don't know. Okay.
Alex,
All right, guys. So got the starburst out of there. Now the spiral, fairly easy, but what you need to do here is you need to start in the center and then work your way out. But it's like the circle where pretty much you make a cut, stop, rotate, make a cut, stop, rotate. So I'm gonna start in the middle and work my way out.
I have a headache. It's giving me a headache.
dang.
Oh, did you know that out of 110 men, 95% of them,
Can those thoughts just stay in your brain?
Are you gonna continue your factor, but
I don't know what I'm gonna say.
95%.
Her name is George. Let me give a picture. Name is George.
Your name is too.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, well, I ain't saying it.
All right, guys, so the spiral, it's not technically cut out all the way. You need to make sure that you've cut all the way through, though. So I've had to go back and kind of make some recuts on this one. Okay, the and sign, that one is the most complicated one that we've got. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna start on the straight lines first, and then I'll work these two inside shapes, and then I'll come out and do the outside shapes.
It's hair.
Hmm.
Oh, Nars.
What?
I'm about to have a mental breakdown.
Why?
Because it's 9.
I'm gonna have a minute breakdown.
You guys are gonna be in rough shape when you get to the cutting part of your project if you're having a mental breakdown on the worksheet.
I haven't even finished drawing my project.
That's not good.
This thing went off.
I know. Calm down.
Seems okay, I guess.
Bro, I almost slammed my head on the table with a knife in it.
Let's not do that.
Yes, no.
Open the door.
Who wants a haircut?
Nobody wants a haircut from you with that knife.
I do. I can do.
No.
I can give somebody a fade. I can line someone up with this. I could. You want to line up?
No. All right, guys. So I completed the straights on my and sign, and now I'm gonna work on these smaller shapes that are kind of here in the middle. This is a good example of what happens when you need a shape to be in the middle, but it has to stay attached somehow. Because if we were, like, we're going to cut this whole and sign out of there, but we got to keep the integrity of these shapes in there so we can see that difference. And that's why it's still attached to the paper with these little bridges. So you guys might have to do that in your project.
I have in my bag right now.
It doesn't matter, put the phone away.
I have a headache in this hair.
I know, because you guys won't shut up.
I have it open.
I pulled over here to finish that.
Okay, I'm kind of struggling on this and sign quite a bit in that I have this one little corner here that I'm just not getting cut. There we go. just having a lot of trouble in making sure that I was cut all the way through, and I don't want to tear it. I want to make sure that I'm cutting my piece away nice and clean. Okay, so I think I've got one more curve on here, and then I'm all done.
To the bridge. He gone. Mama gone.
There we go.